Hey everybody, welcome to Keeping Track. I'm your host, Go Via or Go Home. Today we're going to take a look at Miniprints, miniprints.com. We're going to go to a train store that's in Merrickville, Ontario, Larkspurline. And we're also going to take a look at the new release from Iconic Replicas, the MC9 Motor Coach bus. So let's take a look.
Support provided by Grand Central Scenery. For the very best in realistic trees, check out Grand Central Scenery online at grandcentralscenery.com or place your order by phone just by calling 801-891-7255. Since 1995, Grand Central Scenery has been the leader in fine handcrafted scenery and accessories. Additional support provided by Miniprints. Visit miniprints.com and check out all the 3D printed super detailing parts they offer. They're the resin. Your layouts look super detailed. That's miniprints.com. Okay, so today we are doing some mini prints. We are going to paint them. I'm going to show you my process for this. And if you're not familiar with mini prints, I did do a video. The name of the video is Mini Prints. Very easy to find. Go check them out. Miniprints.com. I talked about the Minis of the Month Club, $24.99 US. They send you some random minis made out of resin, and you can also go to their website and you can pick out the ones that you want as well, and they are shipped to you. So today we're going to do a couple of Canadian geese, a couple of deer, a man carrying his canoe, and that's it. So let's get started with that. These are some of the paints that I'm going to be using to paint my mini prints. You want to start with a base coat, something dull. I've got a camouflage brown and a white primer. You can also use a black primer as well, depending on the model. And then I've got something to seal it with afterwards. I got this one here at Michaels.com or I can't remember. But yeah, this will seal it and prevent it from also being shiny because it's a matte finish. I also like to use these colored paints from Games Workshop. It's a Citadel miniature paint bottle. If you are familiar with wargaming, like Warhammer 40K or the Fantasy Battle game, you basically get the plastic models and you glue them together and then you have to paint them. So these work great on plastic and also pewter metal. I've got a black and a white. I've got a blue, which is very similar. This is a latex blue. This is going to be like a jean denim color. And then I've got a few other colors here that I thought might be helpful. I wanted a bone color, and this is like a base wrath bone. There's many different shades to go with, so make sure you do your research and check with your Games Workshop employee just to see what would work best for whatever it is that you're painting. I've also got a layer Gorthor brown. This is going to be basically the color of the deer. It's almost like a chocolate pudding, like a little bit lighter of a chocolate pudding. And this is a gray. This is Dawn Stone. Very nice. And this will be for the Canadian goose. I also like to sometimes buy inks or oils. You can get different shades as well, but this is just a black Nolan oil. This is good for filling in those little cracks and whatnot, just to give your model just a little bit more layer and texture and shade in those little dark crevices, because it's really watered down. Now you can always make your own, but they do the work for you. So I like to sometimes pick up a couple of these as well. Now, because they are small miniatures, I do have two different brushes here. This one is relatively small, but I also do have a fine tip. And I'm not sure if this has a name to it, but it is from Games Workshop as well. A couple more things that you might need would be toothpicks. These are perfect if you cut one sharp end off, and then I'm going to hot glue it using a tiny bit of glue to just the underside of the model, just like that. And then if you have any scrap foam like this here, this is some pink extruded foam, you'll be able to stick it into the foam and it'll hold it up. That way it'll be easier to hold it for painting, and you can get all sides of it. Okay, so let's start with the deer family. There's the three. There's the mother, father, and the baby deer. So I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm going to snip it where it's at the thick end still, just like that. And then I will take some hot glue and I'll put a little bit on the end there. And depending on how you do plan on actually setting these up, I'll probably have them facing forwards. So if there's no clear spot on the bottom where you can actually glue it to, then you can always use the back side, because no one will actually see that anyways. But typically I would do the underside where you don't really see it anyways. With the Canada Goose, I can take a much smaller toothpick and actually just apply it to the under rear side of the duck, because they are so low to the ground, you will never really see that spot. And you can always go over it after, once it is painted. But I like to just place it and then it's good to go. Now, as far as priming, like I said, I'm going to use the camouflage brown for the deers, and I'm going to use the white for the ducks and the gentleman with the canoe. So this is my painting station. You can see I've got my deer on the foam there. I'm going to give my paint a good shaking beforehand, which I've already kind of done. Always want to make sure your nozzle is nice and clean. And you honestly don't have to hit them very, very thick with paint. But you want to make sure that they are all evenly covered from every angle. and then they're good to dry. Now it'll be the same thing here with the ducks. There's just more of them. Here we go. Here you can see I'm starting to apply some of the black paint, some of the detail work to the duck. The head is primarily black in color with a tiny bit of white on the neck and under the chin, so I can just leave that as is. And I'm basically going to repeat this step per duck. So I'm going to do one duck, paint it black, go to the next one while the other ones are drying, and I'm going to keep doing that with all of them. Now this is where I'm adding the layer of Doss Stone Gray, and it's just going to be to the top section of the actual duck here. It's the outside of the wing color. The underside is still going to be white, and you don't want to put a thick layer on, you just want to coat it lightly with the gray. Make sure the entire back is covered. Kind of like that. Okay, and next up with our ducks here, we want to take our Shade Nuln oil, which is kind of like a very watered down black. You can kind of see how watery it looks. And it's a black, and there's a bit of a brown there to it as well. The thing with this is that it collects in crevices and darker areas and creates more of a highlight. And so places like in between their feathers and along the edge, right near the bottom there, also makes the white not seem as white, like almost like a dirty kind of white, because they're not super clean looking, right? So it'll add a bit more shade to it and add a little bit more realism. It's all about layers here. And you don't need a lot of it. You just need a little bit. And we're going to put some on the black as well, just on the top of the head and around the neck. And yeah, we're going to go through each one of them here, and we're going to do that. And then they'll be ready to get clear coated. And then you'll be able to place them on your layout, which is really neat. Okay, so with the deer, it's going to be a little bit more different. Obviously I did the brown coat on the outside. It is a little bit darker than what I want it to be, but I'm going to lighten that up. Also, there is white on the underside of the deer, and I'm basically just going to lightly brush on some white here. Now there is a little bit of blue showing, but again, we're not going to see that later on. Okay, so next up I've got this Gorthor Brown, which is almost like a chocolate pudding. I want to make sure that it's a very thin brown, and I just want to dry brush this on. I want to keep the top part of the deer darker, and then just lighten up the bottom of the deer. And lastly, dear old dad here has some antlers, so we're just going to paint those in the bone color. They're so thin and so small, but you know, you'll be able to tell, you'll be able to pick it up. Or at least the camera will be able to anyways. Okay, and lastly, we're gonna take some of this ink and we're going to put it onto the deer, into the dark areas, and we're gonna make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. It's gonna gather in all the crevices, and it's gonna highlight these areas. You're gonna see here. You can kind of see on the legs and around the somewhat of the muscle, I guess you could say, the beefier side of the back leg there. And with all the painting completed, let's take a look and place them on the layout and see how they look. There's another one on the back. Today we are visiting Merrickville, Ontario, and we are at Larkspurline Trains. Come on in, take a look with me. Here at Larkspur, you will find a lot of brand new and consignment selection. Most of it is HO scale, but I'm sure you can find some odd N scale stuff. They do a lot of their sales through eBay, so make sure you check out their eBay store. Or if you happen to be in town, stop by and take a look and see what they've got. They have a good selection of locomotives, both DC and DCC sound from many different manufacturers, as well as detail parts, rolling stock, buildings, you name it. Everything to get you going on your new layout, or keep your current layout on track. Thanks for coming with me on this trip to Marrickville, Ontario today to go visit Larkspurline trains. We hope to see you again real soon. Today we're going to take a look at the newest release from Iconic Replicas. These are a couple of the new vintage motor coach collection MCI 9 Crusader buses. Let's take a look. Okay, let's open up this first one here. This is a Go Transit bus. I collect a lot of the Go Transit ones, so I needed to get this one as well. Just a cardboard box with the plastic insert, which is taped closed so that it's sandwiched, so it's not going to move anywhere. And it just comes right out just like that. The Motor Coach Industries MC9 Crusader 2 launched in 1978. And was an evolution of the MC8, and ultimately went on to become one of the most popular MCI buses ever produced, with 6,425 units sold over the production lifespan, which ended in 1987. Next up, we have the exact same bus, but only this one is in a bit of a different paint scheme. This is a Canadian National bus. And I had never seen one before, and naturally I was intrigued. So I just had to grab one. The MC9 features a flat roofline, tall rectangular windows that were all the same size, and a new interior parcel rack design. Hundreds of operators in the US and Canada actively utilized the MC9 in their fleets well into the early 2000s. Here are a few more buses from iconic replicas. If you're looking to pick up a couple for yourself, make sure you check with your local dealer.
Thank you so much for watching Keeping Track. We have more for you next month. But first, up next we have GVO After Dark. Thanks for watching.